To prevent a quarrel with my brother over the division of the inheritance, my relatives decided to sell me to a rich family. On the very first night in the new house, I became an unwitting witness to my wife's attack of madness. The maids were frantically trying to give her medicine, but I remained completely calm and simply sat down on the chair she had just knocked over. The housekeeper, unable to bear my composure, asked anxiously, "Are you not afraid at all?" I calmly replied, "She's my wife, why should I be afraid of her?" Wen Yan, the housekeeper, only smiled skeptically at me. Deep down, she believed this new mistress would soon run away or go mad. Rumors swirled that this madwoman was impossible to live with, and the servants tried to avoid even approaching her room. Apparently, the housekeeper herself was afraid to go inside, fearing the mistress's wrath, so she needed someone to take the blow. When she started scolding the servants, I suddenly interrupted her. "Give me the medicine." The rich man, who was present silently, handed me the bottle. Having gotten over the awkwardness of the moment, I firmly told the others, "Everyone out." The housekeeper tried to object, insisting that she had to take care of the sick woman. But I immediately cut off her attempts to argue. "Since she's my wife, I'll take care of her myself. Go out and close the door," I commanded. The housekeeper inside was seething with rage. She thought, "Since you're so eager for death, so be it. Let's see how you sing when she starts to mock you." With this thought, she led the maids away. The heavy door slammed shut, cutting us off from the rest of the house. As soon as I was alone, I immediately flushed the medicine down the toilet. Even upon entering, I caught the distinctive scent of Chinese herbs with a subtle sour aftertaste. It was a rare substance used to create the illusion of insanity. With prolonged exposure, it slowly kills a person. Such methods were used only in one northern region, and few knew about them. Clearly, the intrigues within the Gu family were far more dangerous than they seemed at first glance. About half an hour passed. Gu Wanning finally lost consciousness, and I laid her down on the bed. The symptoms confirmed my fears. If nothing was done, she had at most a month left. I looked closely at her face. I must admit she was very neat, but what was this? Her wrists and ankles were bound with iron chains, and her skin bore marks from a struggle. I took out the key I'd received from the housekeeper. Having freed her from the chains, I gave her a completely different medicine, which I had prepared in advance. Then I carefully felt the back of her head. Feeling a foreign object under my skin, I pulled the needle out with effort. Gu Wanning winced in pain, clearly coming to her senses. However, her face immediately began to look healthier. The needle itself darkened, a sign of its long stay in the brain. It was a real torture device. I carefully laid her down so she could sleep more comfortably. Having covered her with a blanket, I began to sort out the things that the servants had brought. The clothes were expensive brands, though not the most popular. I decided not to stand on ceremony. Having chosen a shirt, I freshened up in the bathroom. When I emerged, my appearance had changed significantly. Just then, Steward Van entered the room without knocking. His unceremonious intrusion angered me, and I decided to put him in his place at once. "Next time, knock before you enter," I told him coldly. The steward ignored the remark and declared, "The fourth gentleman has returned from school and demands that you report to him immediately. In the meantime, sit here and read." He had no intention of leaving, acting like he owned the place, but I just waved him off lazily. "If he wants to see me, let him come himself. Why should I run to him at the first call?" My answer made the steward laugh. "Do you even realize who you're talking to? This is the fourth young gentleman, the master of the house. You, a hanger-on, dare to set conditions for him?" I didn't even look up from my book, replying, "If he doesn't want to come, then I don't want to see him either." The housekeeper standing nearby couldn't help but laugh at my composure. "Very well," the steward grumbled, "see how he teaches you a lesson. In this family, no one dares to contradict the fourth master." With these words, he left in a rage. I finally put the book aside. The steward's threats didn't bother me. What mattered more was that Gu Wanning had opened her eyes. Unlike her usual frantic state, her gaze was meaningful, albeit clouded. She looked at me silently. I asked her to get up and sit down, but she couldn't answer yet. I helped her sit on the edge of the bed, feeling satisfied with the first results of the treatment. She was recovering faster than I expected. The butler, of course, had already realized I wasn't who they thought I was. At the first opportunity, he reported everything to Gu Lingxuan, who immediately became furious. He was informed that I had refused to obey. He had previously avoided the 5th floor because of Gu Wanning's coldness, but after she went crazy, the place became something like a prison for him. But now Gu Wanning was sitting on the bed, looking completely different. "Big sister, are you awake?" the girl who came next exclaimed. She was unaware of all the intricacies of the illness. Steward Van, seeing his mistress sitting, was dumbfounded. She noticed that the shackles had been removed from her hands and her appearance had changed. "How did I manage to open these locks?" The steward reached into his pocket for the key. But his pocket was empty. I took out the key and demonstratively twirled it in front of her nose. "Looking for this? You dropped it yourself," I said, showing the key. Seeing the wounds on my wife's arms and legs from the shackles, I helped her free herself. Steward Van froze in confusion, not understanding what was happening. He was shocked that I had so easily opened the lock on the necklace of this woman, whom everyone considered dangerous. I simply remarked calmly, "My wife is not a prisoner. Why is she locked up?" The housekeeper became even more nervous. Tension hung in the air. None of the servants dared approach her, fearing fits of rage, and attempts to remove her chains had always ended in tragedy. The housekeeper, realizing the situation was spiraling out of control, hurried to lead Gu Lingxuan away. "Young master, we have to go. The mistress is just pretending. Don't trust her." But Lingxuan was too overconfident to recognize the danger. He looked at me with undisguised fury, dismissing my composure as arrogance. Even if his sister had come to her senses, he didn't want to admit it. "Isn't this a subconscious game?" he asked, looking at the bag with my things. He clearly despised me, considering me nothing more than a hanger-on running errands for my sister. He ridiculed the idea that I was just a servant, unworthy of these things, and tried to distribute the clothes among the servants to humiliate me. "Flight attendant Wang, is your son's birthday coming up? Take these designer items for yourself," he suggested sarcastically. She was delighted at the opportunity to profit at someone else's expense. She reached for the bags, but I blocked her way with my cold gaze. I silently took the bag of clothes, adding to it the things that were lying nearby, leaving them no chance to take anything. Having collected my things, I was about to leave, but I stopped. I deliberately placed the bags of clothes right on Gu Lingxuan's feet. His face instantly turned purple with rage. "What are you doing?" he hissed. I only calmly replied, "I want this and it will stay here. I am Gu Wanning's husband and the final say is mine now," I added, making it clear that I would no longer tolerate his antics. The fourth gentleman went berserk, trying to take the bags away, but I didn't move from my spot. He was rushing about in rage, not knowing how to influence me. Rushing forward, he shouted, "Don't you dare use your sister as a shield," but suddenly he received a sharp slap. I looked at the dumbfounded guy and said, "Look at your sister," and then at me. "Did you really think you could hit me with impunity? It was your sister who punished you, not me," I added coldly, feeling Gu Wanning watching what was happening. Lingxuan was shocked. He couldn't believe that his sister was capable of such a rebuff. He looked at the housekeeper with a hunted expression, expecting support, but she looked confused. "Young master, everything happened too quickly," she muttered, but Lingxuan didn't want to listen to excuses. Suddenly he felt a sharp pain. His legs gave way. He fell to his knees in front of me, and I couldn't help but grin. "Brother, even though I'm your son-in-law, I don't need your obeisances. We're not in ancient times," I said, looking at Gu Wanning. "He's still my brother, so there's no point in putting too much pressure on him," I added casually, though Lingxuan was still seething with hatred. The housekeeper, quickly getting her bearings, caught him. "Let's go, young master. There's no point in staying here." Lingxuan couldn't move his legs, which were numb from fear or the strange influence, and he was literally dragged away. I didn't even turn around. Having calmed my wife down, I gave her the medicine, and she again fell into a deep, healing sleep. "I hit your brother for you, don't blame me," I whispered to her. Her eyelashes fluttered slightly. She seemed to hear every word. Meanwhile, Lingxuan tried to seek refuge with his parents. But his father wasn't around, and his mother was busy with her own affairs. Lingxuan's legs still felt like strangers. Fearing disability, he went to the hospital, but the doctors found nothing wrong. Shen Ruolan, meanwhile, played mahjong all night. By morning, rumors had reached her that her son had been taken to the hospital, and that the awakened Gu Wanning was to blame. Shen Ruolan was furious as she looked at the housekeeper. "Are you saying that she is in her right mind? Who gave you permission to let him see her?" she screamed, not giving him a chance to say a word of justification. "You're a worthless housekeeper, you're losing your bonus," she raged, taking it out on the servants. Turning to her son, she scolded him too. "I told you not to mess with that crazy woman. Don't you have enough problems?" Lingxuan received no maternal care, only a fresh dose of anger. He felt humiliated. Wait, he thought, I'll definitely find out what kind of man this groom is who dared to marry a madwoman for money. Shen Ruolan was adamant. The doctor said she has less than a month to live. Why do you even bother with her? So she's going to die soon? Lingshuan asked, his eyes sparkling with interest. His mother told him not to interfere. Dad feels guilty, so he married her off to that guy. Just forget about them, it will all be over soon. Lingshuan calmed down a little, deciding to wait. A new day dawned, the weather was fine, and Gu Wanning's mood improved noticeably. When I fed her breakfast, she looked at me completely differently than she had the day before. A new meaning entered her gaze. She asked quietly, have you been outside for a long time? Do you want some fresh air? I slowly turned my head. We met eyes, and there was more trust in it than in all the past years. Then let's go to the garden, it will do you good, I said. Gu Wanning hadn't left this 5th floor for 3 years. When we came out, the servants froze in shock, and Steward Wang was afraid to even come close, watching us from afar. I hurriedly called Shen Rulen, but all I heard in response was a cold, distant tone. She snapped, don't fuss, I'll be right there, call the family doctor. Shen Rulen believed that if I kept quiet then you'll just wait for Gu Wanning to die, giving her only the bare minimum of care. She clearly didn't expect me to have to work so hard to save her. I knew that even if I had to leave, I would be remembered. I carefully removed the flower from Gu Wanning's hair. Nanny, watching this, caught a glimmer of sadness in her gaze, but I merely reassured her. The past was in the past. You'll be your old self soon, and these 3 years will be just a bad dream, I whispered. Gu Wanning slowly raised her head. She looked at me tenderly, and her lips, albeit with difficulty, formed the decisive words, hurry up, come to your senses. At that moment, the silence of the park was broken by the sound of approaching people. A group of people ran out onto the path, disrupting our peace. Shen Rulen immediately started shouting. Who gave you permission to take this lady out? I made that clear yesterday. It seems you're not listening at all, she said, turning angrily to the housekeeper. She ordered Gu Wanning to be returned to her room immediately, and the pregnant housekeeper to be sent to the laundry to polish all the shoes in the house as punishment. Shen Rulen towered over us, feeling completely superior. Steward Wang, picking up on her tone, took a step toward me, but I wasn't about to simply stand there and watch. I acted with lightning speed, tripping him up at the moment when he was sure he was right. No one around even realized what had happened. Everyone assumed the steward had simply tripped. I immediately crouched down to help him, asking with concern, are you okay? How can you walk so carelessly? The steward spat out dirt, his face contorted with rage. I just wanted to talk, but I felt like his endless lies and intrigues were making my head spin. In fact, while I was pretending to help him up, I carried out my plan. I took advantage of the opportunity to disable him, just as I had previously blocked Gu Lingshuan's legs. My skills and hidden techniques were far more ancient and effective than anything they had ever seen. Shen Rulen was furious at the steward's helplessness, who had collapsed out of nowhere. She was seriously considering retiring him. The Gu family had no use for such clumsy servants. Shen Rulen coldly ordered her bodyguard, what are you waiting for? Hurry and take that big girl back to her room. This bodyguard, De Yun, was a renowned fighter who had won international competitions. Shen Rulen held him in high esteem and took him with her everywhere. When Gu Wanning started going crazy, it was De Yun who put chains on her. No one dared come close except him. Gu Wanning's fingers clenched convulsively at the sight of De Yun. Despite her weakness, her eyes gleamed with the desire to tear him to pieces. De Yun stepped forward, excuse me, miss, and reached into his pocket for new shackles to tie her up again like that day. I didn't wait for him to approach and blocked his path to the wheelchair. My voice was firm. By law, no one has the right to restrict another's freedom. Foreigners are deported from the country for illegal actions. De Yun's face darkened, not expecting such a rebuff. He turned to Shen Rulen. I kept my eyes on her, smiling. This is the Gu family's land, but doesn't it obey the laws of our country? Do you understand the risk you're taking? I wasn't afraid at all. Is this territory a separate state? I asked. All citizens are equal before the law, and it is our common duty to uphold it. I took out my phone and started recording. The Gu family's eldest heir was kept in chains for 3 years. Once this information comes out, public opinion will simply explode. Shen Rulen gritted her teeth. You dare threaten me? De Yun, are you still standing? Take that scoundrel's phone away and cut off his connection. De Yun stepped forward. I just stood there, feeling the chill of the impending threat. De Yun's powerful hand tried to grab me, but I dodged it. I had to strike him 3 times. De Yun fell to the ground, looking at me with primal terror. In my eyes, he saw the murderous spirit of a warrior who had lived through life and death. I said calmly, De Yun, right? How long have you been in this country? I touched my necklace, a hidden camera that transmitted everything that happened to the monitors of the mysterious base. Perhaps my aura was too overwhelming, or perhaps the force of the blow shocked him. He answered the question almost subconsciously. 5 years. I want to make money here, but don't forget the local rules, I said. Otherwise, I'll send you back to your homeland myself. At that moment, at the secret base, my man was checking on De Yun's actions, preparing a legal pretext for his deportation. Shen Rulan, standing nearby, hadn't heard our conversation and was furious with De Yun. She decided that he dared to harm me, and that's why he was taking so long. De Yun, have you forgotten who your teacher is? Why don't you deal with this boy? She screamed, not realizing that his body was paralyzed by fear. De Yun felt I was unbeatable, but he depended on Shen Rulan's money. He muttered quietly that Madame Gu was very influential and tried to defend himself. Like a beast ready to pounce, he clenched his fists and rushed at me again, putting all his strength into this blow. Gu Wanning, seeing the danger, tried to stand up, but her legs wouldn't obey. Just as De Yun's fist was about to reach my target, a sharp sound rang out. I suddenly frowned, noticing that my shoelaces had come undone. As I bent down to tie them, I expertly dodged De Yun's blow. The powerful blow missed, hitting a tree behind it, from which cherry blossoms immediately fell, turning into thick fog. My eyes flashed. I struck De Yun's legs and arms, pinning him to the snow. At that moment, cherry blossom petals began to swirl around us. Shen Rulan finally saw the light and saw a picture of De Yun kneeling in the snow. Without any reason, he raised his hands in a pose of complete surrender. Shen Rulan was furious at such stupidity. She screamed, De Yun, what are you doing? I ordered that bastard to be removed and you knelt before him, but De Yun now knew my true strength all too well. He wanted to explain to her that I was a master of hidden techniques, but my hand was already firmly on his shoulder. I chuckled, what's wrong? Are you asking for forgiveness for my wife? Why are you bowing so low? But De Yun wanted to justify himself. But I ordered him to remain silent, while Shen Rulan continued to curse him for being useless. At that moment, I pulled out my phone, preparing to call the estate's security. Just in time, the security captain called. Madam, the captain interrupted, the police have arrived at the gate. A report has been filed against De Yun for illegal activity. If it's confirmed, he will be expelled from the country forever. Shen Rulan felt her world crumble in an instant. One of the guards tried to intervene, but I outmaneuvered them. I don't know if it was the money they received or De Yun's envy, but his stubbornness worked against him. De Yun had indeed broken the rules by visiting places he shouldn't have been. The police quickly found his track record and took him away. The points I'd blocked his movements with wouldn't wear off for another day. I carefully supported Gu Wanning, helping her come to her senses. I whispered softly to her, it's been a while, you must be tired, let me take care of you. I didn't even glance at Shen Rulan, feeling her tremble with rage, but I didn't care. At that moment, Dr. Li appeared and immediately began to lament. Madam, why didn't you call me for so long? He said in a nonchalant manner, I'm here to check on Miss Gu's health. Dr. Li introduced himself to me, trying to sound professional. Hello, Mr. Gu, I'm Mrs. Personal Physician. I heard she wasn't feeling well yesterday, so I came to check her out. I didn't let him finish. I simply turned Gu Wanning's wheelchair around, not intending to let him near my wife. Dr. Li fidgeted, feeling awkward. Mr. Gu, you must be tired. Let me help you carry the lady. But as soon as he reached for the chair, I caught his gaze. My manipulation of the dots made his face pale and his movements stiff. Dr. Li was completely confused, not understanding what was happening to him. I snapped coldly without even looking at Shen Rulan. If I were you, I wouldn't interfere where you weren't asked. It won't end well. The doctor was following Shen Rulan's orders to ensure Wanning was ill at any cost. He continued to insist, trying to justify his concern as professional duty. I'm a doctor, I said, and my job is to heal, not to serve greed. The way you're treating the patient is a disgrace to the profession. I'm afraid you're not a doctor, but just a puppet. Dr. Li's face fell. What are you doing? I'm a doctor too, I replied, and a true doctor saves people, not seeks profit. Get out before I use force. With these words, I turned around and walked away, leaving him completely confused. Did he understand something? Flashed through the doctor's mind. He hurried to Shen Rulen with a report. Madam, I'll be honest, she looks much better than she should. Shen Rulen was taken aback. What? This hanger-on actually managed to save a crazy woman. Dr. Li doubted it, but the fact remained. Wanning was conscious. Now their assassination plan could fail and the lie became dangerous. Shen Rulen laughed nervously. A low-class boy will never be able to challenge the head of the Gu family. Though inside, she was already regretting her strategy. If Wanning survived, she'd have to be thrown out of the house, but she hoped to get rid of her at the hands of the doctors. We need to send them to another city where no one will ask unnecessary questions, she decided. I tightened my control. I stopped giving Wanning the medicine that the servants brought, and I carefully checked all the food. That evening, I gave her my medicine. She recovered noticeably, although I continued to pretend to the others that she was still weak. Don't worry, you'll get better soon, I whispered, tucking her in. She closed her eyes and fell asleep. I too fell into a short sleep, remaining alert. The next morning, I took Wanning for a walk so she could get some air. As soon as we entered the elevator, the doors closed and darkness reigned all around. I pressed the call button, but the connection was dead. My phone also had no network coverage. The signal had been artificially blocked. This wasn't a glitch, but a sabotage. Shen Rulen decided to speed up the finale, knowing that the confined space and darkness were fatal to Wanning's condition. The elevator was stuck for hours. Shen Rulen hoped that despair and the attack would kill my wife, hastening her natural death. At that time, she herself was sitting in the living room, drinking coffee and thinking how stupid it was to believe that a walk would help her. She was eagerly awaiting news that Wanning was no longer there so that she could quickly close this matter. It's okay, Auntie will manage, she thought, when suddenly Gu Feng, Wanning's father, who had not been here for half a month, entered the house. His appearance came as a complete surprise to everyone. He immediately hurried towards the stairs. Darling, I'm back early. Where's Ningning? I want to see her. Gu Feng was known for his fickle nature, but in his heart he always singled out Wanning, who was born from the only woman he loved. He himself had been shunned by the Gu family, and now he wanted to somehow show concern for his daughter. Shen Rulen, who was used to controlling her husband, only watched him coldly, trying to maintain control of the situation. She's been showing up more often. I have to go visit her, Gu Feng insisted as he headed towards the elevator. His conscience tormented him, and despite all the absurdities of his life, he sincerely wanted to support Wanning in her illness. Shen Rulen tried to turn him against me, whispering that I was just a bad guy who dragged a sick woman through the street, wanting her dead. Gu Feng, hearing this, became furious. How dare you talk about her husband like that when she is sick? A quarrel broke out between them. I was a nuisance, but Gu Feng was beginning to suspect something was wrong. At that moment, a servant with a pale face came running. Sir, bad news, Madam is stuck in a faulty elevator. Gu Feng's face turned pale. What? Open the elevator quickly, don't you dare scare Ningning. The main problem was that the entire elevator control was under the control of Shen Rulen's people on the 5th floor. Get to the 5th floor to the control system, Gu Feng commanded, sensing that something terrible was happening. The elevator wasn't working. Everyone held their breath as they reached the 5th floor, and Gu Feng couldn't help but let out a terrified sigh. Where are the security personnel in charge of the elevator? He asked, but they were all on vacation today. I already called them, but apparently Shen Rulen had arranged for their absence beforehand, so no one would come to the rescue. Gu Feng began banging furiously on the elevator door. Ningning, are you okay? Wait, the repairmen are on their way, he shouted, but there was no sound coming from the cabin. Shen Rulen pretended to be very worried. The air there is bad, she couldn't have fainted, could she? Gu Feng was on the verge of despair. What are you standing there for? Call the experts to break the door down immediately, he shouted, losing his patience. What if they fail? The people inside could die, someone was wailing when suddenly I appeared from behind. What are you doing here in front of the elevator door? Shen Rulen turned around. She expected me to be stuck inside, but I stood there looking at the commotion with bewilderment and couldn't help but laugh. Would you like to use the elevator? I asked, walked up to the panel and pressed the button. The doors slid open easily. Inside, it was empty. The cabin was in perfect order. Who are you? This should have been the old man's doing, not you, someone from the crowd muttered. Shen Rulan was taken aback. I asked, "Did you really think we were stuck there? How long has this been going on? I didn't see you outside. Were you trying to scare us?" "There was a slight problem with the elevator. I tried calling for help, but I couldn't get through. We went out another way when no one was there," I replied, even though Gu Feng was furious. He looked around at everyone present. Didn't anyone know the elevator was stuck? The servants remained silent, afraid to utter a word. They didn't dare admit that they were acting on Shen Rulan's direct orders, and how exactly we escaped remained a mystery to them. I laughed. We were probably just lucky. The elevator started working on its own. In fact, I had cleared the sabotage myself. Ning Ning is fine, don't worry. Hearing this, Gu Feng visibly relaxed. "Looks like this guy is lucky after all," he muttered. "Are you the father? She's fine, don't worry," I said, but Shen Rulan wasn't about to miss the chance. She immediately pounced on me with accusations. "This is all your fault. You pushed her out for a walk and she's a patient. How dare you take such a risk?" She continued to press. "Yesterday, Dr. Li wanted to examine her, but this boy doesn't understand that she is sick and is preventing her treatment." Gu Feng turned away abruptly, his expression darkening. Shen Rulan sensed her words had hit home and continued her game. "Do you really want Ning Ning to die because of this half-educated guy?" She added fuel to the fire. "It seems you're not suitable for our family. Go away. I'll marry Ning Ning off to someone else," Gu Feng declared. "I'm Ning Ning's legal husband," I replied firmly. "Unless she asks for a divorce, no one will force us to separate." Shen Rulan hadn't expected such impudence. "You want a divorce, but you can't," she screamed, calling for security to throw me out of the house. At that moment, a cold voice rang out. "Who dared to touch my husband?" Everyone froze in surprise. Gu Wanning, sitting in a wheelchair, slowly wheeled out of the room. She was pale, but her eyes were now staring straight ahead and sharp, freezing everything around her. Shen Rulan was the first to feel that gaze. Gu Wanning had returned, and her presence was heavier than any command. Gu Feng was happy. "Ning Ning, you're awake. I'm so glad to see you, my dear." Gu Wanning looked at him coldly. "Dad, it's been a while," she said, ignoring his delight. She didn't even glance at his outstretched hands, heading straight for the epicenter of the conflict. She looked at Shen Rulan. "What? Are you going to drive my husband away?" She retreated in fear. The murderous aura emanating from her became palpable. I stood to the side, observing this transformation. Gu Wanning glanced at the servants. "There are so many extra people in the building, and the elevators are constantly breaking down. Everyone leave as soon as you've been paid." Gu Feng agreed. "Change whatever you want, as long as you're happy, daughter." Shen Rulan could only watch helplessly. "Ning Ning, what's wrong? Let's call Dr. Li, he'll examine you," she tried to intervene. "That's not necessary," Gu Wanning snapped. "And get rid of that nurse. I'm not sick. Stop stuffing me with who knows what." Gu Wanning was adamant, stopping any attempts to talk about her illness. "Darling, let's go back to the room," I said, and pushed her chair into the bedroom. I closed the door tightly. "You're not completely recovered, are you? Why bother?" She looked at me with a slight smile. "You saved me, and I appreciate it. You're not a simpleton, I get that, but you helped me," she said seriously. I teased her. "Look at your serious expression. I even got scared." She suddenly lifted her chin, looking at me defiantly. "Handsome, I like it when you look like that." Gu Wanning blushed. "Don't overdo it with the jokes, just be quiet." "Okay, I'll do whatever you say." "You can remain the Gu family's son-in-law forever if you want. I will respect you for the rest of my life," she said. "Just respect. What about love?" I asked, and she became slightly embarrassed. "I'm sorry, I can't give you my heart because it already belongs to another guy, the one I've been looking for 5 years. He saved me back then and I'm still looking for him, but now I'm confessing this to you so there won't be any secrets," she added. I laughed. "It's okay, we can be a couple until you find him, and then I'll just leave." "I'm touched," she said, "but you're my husband and I won't regret it, unless you find another lover." "I've been looking for him for years, but to no avail," she smiled sadly, "but I believe he's out there somewhere." I just smiled back, hiding the truth. I readily agreed to help her search. After all, the world is a small place, and I myself was curious about this mysterious man she couldn't find. Gu Wanning merely smiled, dismissing my words. She asked hopefully, "How many days will it take for me to fully recover?" I replied, "Tomorrow will be much better, but I'm still far from fully healed." "Your body needs time. 3 years of illness take their toll. Don't overexert yourself," I admonished her, watching her frown. I think she was thinking about revenge on Shen Rulan. A gentleman takes revenge even after 10 years, but Wanning didn't want to wait that long. her enemy was right next door. She smiled coldly, staring into space. To her, Shen Rulen was just a pawn in someone else's game, and she wanted her to suffer slowly, paying the full price of her years of imprisonment. I saw a cold glint in her eyes. The words from the file came to mind. This man is heartless, and anyone who offends him will end badly. That evening, Gu Feng came to invite us to dinner. He smiled. I'm glad you're awake. The second pair, Zeu and Feifei, have returned from Jiangcheng. Come down and show yourself to them. Wanning greeted him rather rudely. Have you come to ask for money again, or have you brought your mistresses? She snapped. Gu Feng's smile faltered slightly, but he remained silent, trying to maintain his composure in front of the strangers. I frowned at the tension. Are you being too harsh with your father? I asked, but Gu Wanning only tightened her grip on my hand. The next moment she pressed herself against me, hugging me in front of everyone. Now this man is my husband and not a stranger. Gu Feng was shocked by her audacity. What a strange guy, he thought. How could he become her confidant so quickly? He turned and walked away, leaving us alone. As soon as the door closed, Wanning whispered, he was just testing you. If you hadn't passed the test, he would have given you hell. I just laughed. I don't need his validation, I just want to protect you. We went downstairs, where the whole family had already gathered in the huge dining room. My second brother, Gu Zeu, was the first to speak up. Sister, you look stunning, and is this our new son-in-law? He smiled broadly, trying to appear friendly, though his eyes were wary. His wife, Gao Yuanyuan, handed me a red silk box. This is our wedding gift for you. We hope you like it. I opened it. There was a diamond watch. At first glance, it looked luxurious, but I immediately recognized it as a cheap fake. I didn't show it, just nodded politely. Thank you. Gao Yuanyuan smiled, but deep down I was sure she was mocking me, thinking of me as a country bumpkin who couldn't tell glass from stone. Gu Lingshuan, who was sitting next to me, waited for my reaction with a smirk. I pretended to be genuinely delighted with the gift, and suddenly, I put this watch on the collar of my dog who was running nearby. Look how they fit, I laughed. Lingshuan flushed. What are you doing? It's a gift. If you don't like it, don't give me fakes, Gu Wanning interjected coldly. My brother gave my husband a fake, how shameful. Gao Yuanyuan turned pale. She didn't expect me to expose them so quickly in front of everyone. The fake dog looked like a mockery of their generosity. Gu Zeu tried to smooth things over. Sister, this must be a misunderstanding. I'll buy a new, better watch tomorrow, he justified himself. No need, Wanning snapped. My husband knows his stuff. Better yet, just send the money to the card if you want to be helpful. I calmly recited my card number. 1,000,000 will be enough, so I don't have to apologize for the quality of the gift. Gao Yuanyuan almost fainted. 1,000,000, why such impudence? Zeu hissed, but didn't dare argue. Not enough? Well, 2,000,000 then, so you don't have any problems with your conscience, I added, enjoying the expressions on their faces. Finally, under their stunned gazes, I forced them to transfer the money. Their faces at that moment were worth more than any watch. I grew up in a village, so I don't really know prices, but 2,000,000 seems like a fair price for an insult, I quipped. Gao Yuanyuan was furious, but she remained silent. Gu Zeu only replied dryly, I'm glad that I can contribute to your well-being. The dinner continued, the servants bustled around. I noticed that the servants in the house had changed again, and the faces of these people seemed suspiciously familiar to me. Shen Rulen couldn't bear it any longer and went to her room without finishing her meal. Too many failures had happened in one day. Gu Feng tried to discuss business, talking about this morning and the strange changes in Wanning's behavior. Wanning just remained silent, watching them like a predator watching its prey. After breakfast, I took her to her room and checked her pulse again. I got out the medicine, this time a cleansing one, and she took it without a shadow of a doubt. She asked with a smile, what is this, another poison? Yes, the most dangerous of all, I replied, and she laughed. If this is your poison, I am ready to take it. You are too trusting, it's dangerous, I shook my head. What if I save you and then use you for my own purposes? Aren't you afraid? I asked. She looked me straight in the eyes. Do whatever you want, I've already decided everything. It's a cleanser, it has no side effects other than it flushes all the gunk out of your system, I explained. She was still a mystery to me, but this woman began to seriously occupy my thoughts. By the way, she added, now that the house is safe, maybe you could give me a bed. I've had enough of sleeping on the couch. Gu Wanning thought seriously. Logically, this should be your room, but others know things aren't that simple between us, and I'm a little worried about your safety. It's true, I suggested, let's just buy a sofa bed. We can fold it up during the day and no one will notice. She agreed. Gu Wanning immediately gave the order, and the sofa was delivered in less than an hour. Her subordinates are incredibly effective. If it weren't for her temporary infirmity, I wouldn't even have realized how powerful she is. I just wanted to lie down and rest, but Gu Wanning took the initiative first, lying down on the bed. I was left confused. What does this mean? I have to sleep on the couch while you take the bed. That's right, go to bed early, good night, she said, wrapping herself in a blanket. I took her luxurious bed without hesitation. It was incredibly comfortable, and I fell asleep instantly. Gu Wanning, accustomed to a different life, was tossing and turning on the sofa. In the middle of the night, I woke up to her moans and, opening my eyes, saw a grimace of horror on her face. I don't need your demons, Mom, save me, she screamed in her sleep, transforming from a domineering mistress into a fragile, frightened girl. She curled up into a ball, continuing to call for her mother. Lying next to her, I couldn't help but feel sympathy for her pain. I hugged her. Don't be afraid, I'm here, no one will hurt you. Gradually, she calmed down and stopped shaking. She fell asleep again, and I followed her example. In the morning, I opened my eyes and froze in shock. Gu Wanning had somehow moved from the sofa to my bed. She slept, hugging me tightly, and there was something childish and defenseless in her breathing. I gently pushed her away, and she woke up instantly. I'm a patient, you have no right to be here, she shouted indignantly, covering herself with a blanket. You crawled up to me in the middle of the night. What are you doing? I asked in turn. She sighed heavily. I just wanted to comfort you. You were screaming so much in your sleep that I didn't even notice how I fell asleep. I checked my clothes. Everything was fine. The nightmares had been tormenting me for years, and I didn't want anyone to know. Okay, I believe you, I replied, hoping she'd forget about it. Let's make a deal. Don't tell anyone about my weakness, and don't you dare hug me again, I added, trying to return to my previous tone. She looked at me slyly like a fox. We'll see. Why are you laughing at what? I asked, getting irritated. Nothing, she replied, still smiling. Later, when we went down to breakfast, I was still a little out of sorts. It was 9 in the morning, and Gu Lingxuan was already having breakfast downstairs. He froze when he saw us, and Gu Wanning gave him such a cold look that he choked. Gu Lingxuan instantly lost his appetite. He quickly got up and left, and I couldn't help but smile. Your brother didn't even finish eating. You scared him with just your appearance, I noted. His mother never taught him good manners, that's why he looks pathetic, Wanning retorted. After breakfast, I looked at her seriously. You've almost recovered. I don't need to be with you all the time anymore. She frowned. You want to leave, didn't we agree? I laughed, realizing she'd gotten it all wrong again. Who said I was leaving? I just wanted to go shopping. Wanning relaxed. Should I go with you? No, it's still hard for you to walk for long, I replied. She nodded and handed me a black card with gold stripes. I recognized her immediately, although she pretended that it was an ordinary thing. It was the black card of the Tianfu City Shopping Center, the most prestigious place in the capital. Only the richest people shop there. I've never been to places like that. Empty everything you want there, she said. I knew the owner of this shopping center was a mysterious figure, but it turned out she had a direct connection to it. It turned out that when she was 13, her grandfather gave her money for development, and she invested it in Tianfu City, becoming its actual owner. Empty the entire mall. If I do that, you won't be upset, I joked. At best half, she smiled, and I took the map and set off. Humming under my breath, I arrived at the shopping mall, where I was attracted by a shirt for 580,000 yuan. Gu Wanning watched me leave, and for the first time, a sincere, warm smile flashed across her face. Just as I was about to pay, other customers entered the store. Ironically, it was Tang Demushin and his companion, one of the 3 great men of the capital, Song Yunfei. Song Yunfei, look, it's that limited edition t-shirt from the magazine. It's even better in person than in the picture, she exclaimed. He declared he'd take the shirt regardless of the price, but when I saw his arrogant expression, I felt disgusted. The Mu family were just ordinary merchants, and he was acting like a prince. Song Yunfei, his companion, also appreciated the shirt. For him, the heir of the Song family, 580,000 yuan per item was almost a month's allowance. However, he was willing to make this luxurious gesture to impress Tang Demushin. Tang Demushin suddenly recognized me. Hey, isn't that my cousin? What are you doing here? She looked at me with disdain, clearly not considering me worthy of being in such a place. Mr. Song, allow me to introduce you. This is the husband of my cousin, that crazy woman, she added mockingly. Song Yunfei looked at me coldly, as if I were a dirty spot on his impeccable suit. "Oh, so this is the guy who sold himself for 2 million, he chuckled. They were clearly enjoying the opportunity to humiliate me. I remembered how Wanning had returned my parents' property through our marriage, and how those people continued to see me as just a poor son-in-law. "Are you still here? Go away before your shame covers us all, or we'll call security," Demudian snapped, finally losing all sense of propriety. Before I could answer, she tried to take the shirt away, but I grabbed her hand. "I was too soft with you and the family," I said coldly, looking into her eyes. "You dare touch me," she shrieked. I wasn't going to tolerate their shouting. I simply took the shirt from her hands. "Until your mother teaches you some manners, you better stay away," I snapped. Song Yunfei, seeing that I wasn't backing down, stepped forward. "Do you know who I am? Do you even realize the trouble you've gotten yourself into?" "I don't care who you are, get out of my way," I replied, my expression unchanged. "Even if you are from the Gu family, that doesn't give you the right to be rude to the Song family," he hissed. But I just laughed in response, looking at them like they were clowns. They began to shower me with ridicule, confident in their superiority and inviolability. Their complacency was beyond measure. They decided they could make a fool of me in front of the whole store. "They won't sell you anything here, get out," they continued their attacks. I just chuckled. "I have money, but your culture leaves much to be desired." Song Yunfei looked at my outfit with disdain. "Look at yourself, you don't even look like someone who can afford this store. Manager, take him out immediately." The store manager approached us, looking extremely displeased. He was about to launch into an angry tirade, but he froze when he met my gaze. "Are you sure you want me to leave?" I asked quietly, but in an icy tone. The manager, who had already sensed something was wrong, suddenly changed expression. He realized this was no ordinary man. "It's not that I want, but you've insulted someone you shouldn't mess with," he muttered, clearly fearing the consequences. There was a young saleswoman standing nearby who had been friendly to me up until then. I asked her, "Who should I pay for this purchase?" She was clearly nervous under the pressure of wealthy clients, but I could see her honest desire to help. The manager interrupted her. "Mr. Song was the first to express his desire to buy this item. I am already placing an order for him." The salesman was on the verge of hysteria, realizing that he was getting into a dangerous game, but he was more afraid of Song Yunfei's wrath than he was of me. The little saleswoman looked like she was about to burst into tears of horror in front of the powers that be. I didn't even expect the situation to reach such an absurd level. I touched the necklace around my neck, feeling it was time to end this circus. Song Yunfei was sure I would lose. He was looking forward to seeing how humiliated I would be when I was shown the door. I just frowned. "Are you afraid I won't answer? Well, let's see who actually leaves this center," I said. "Agreed," Song Yunfei chuckled. The store manager, feeling like he was in charge, started to escort me and the saleswoman out. He behaved extremely arrogantly, confident in his impunity. "Go away, you're not welcome here," he said to the employee who showed concern for me. I took out my phone. 10 minutes to sort this out," I said, ignoring their laughter. Song Yunfei and his gang were rolling with laughter as they watched my attempts to call. I dialed Gu Wanning's number. She was on a video conference call, but when she heard my voice, she immediately put it down. I briefly explained the situation to her, without going into unnecessary details. "The manager of the shirt shop at Tianfu is behaving inappropriately. Replace him immediately. You have 5 minutes," I said and hung up. "So have you come to an agreement with the god of this shopping center?" Song Yunfei asked mockingly. He was sure that I had lost my mind from humiliation. "Poor guy, he's completely lost his mind." He shook his head, looking at me with pity. At that moment, the doors of the shopping center swung open, and a man in a formal suit walked in. The manager turned pale and immediately bowed. "Hello, Mr. Li," he whispered, recognizing the professional manager of the entire Tianfu shopping center. Li Yang, who had been in a meeting just a moment ago, rushed here at the first call from Gu Wanning. He cast a stern glance at everyone present. Song Yunfei, still confident in his own strength, asked, "Who is the owner of the black card? Why didn't you drive that vagabond out?" But Li Yang merely looked at him with icy disdain. I was genuinely surprised to see Song Yunfei take out his black card with trembling hands, hoping that it would save his situation. "Mr. Li, you heard, I'm a regular customer here," he exclaimed, but Li Yang didn't even look at his card. "Sorry, but your card is not valid here," Li Yang replied dryly. "There is only one VIP card, the black and gold one that gives you access to everything." A deathly silence fell over them all. The question of whether such a card even existed disappeared by itself when I calmly pulled my black and gold card out of my bag. Li Yang saw it and his face instantly turned white. This is the very card, he stammered. He immediately bowed deeply. Sorry, sir, I didn't know it was you. You were in trouble because of us. Then he turned sharply to the store manager. You're fired. Get out of the mall immediately, Li Yang thundered. The manager, in disbelief, tried to justify himself. Mr. Li, I worked here for so many years. For what? For insulting someone we had no right to touch, Li Yang replied. Song Yunfei, seeing that the situation was getting out of control, jumped up from his chair. Mr. Li, you must be joking. I'm the young master of the Song family and I bring you so much profit. You can't just throw me out because of this beggar. Li Yang looked at him with a cold smile. From today on, the affairs of Tianfu in this matter are not managed by me, but by the will of the owner. Do as I say, Li Yang added. Song Yunfei's face twisted with rage and humiliation. Aren't you afraid of the Song family's revenge? He growled. Li Yang merely shrugged. I'm following orders from my superiors. I stood to the side watching this spectacle. Song Yunfei looked at me straight in the eye. What boss? What are you talking about? Li Yang turned to me with a questioning look. I only nodded briefly. This is the head of Tianfu City, Li Yang said crisply, pointing at me. Song Yunfei laughed. This country bumpkin, don't make me laugh. This is the property of the woman from the Gu family, Yunfei continued. You have confused the party's manager. Li Yang remained unmoved. Sir, be careful with your words. Our true owner has been restored and this is all his property. Song Yunfei was stunned because the information that Gu Wanning had come to her senses and taken the assets had not yet leaked to the high society. It can't be, a madwoman can't recover, he shouted, but Li Yang no longer wanted to waste time on him. The manager turned to me. What else would you like, sir? I pointed to the same saleswoman who had been kind to me. Let her become the manager of this store. She deserves it, I said. I saw Song Yunfei boiling with anger, but he could no longer do anything. He had lost in the eyes of everyone present. Looking at him mockingly, I turned around and walked away. Hey, Song Yunfei, I called out. You seem to have forgotten about our bet. You lost. Time to put on some pants and go shopping like we agreed. He stood there, red as a lobster, not knowing where to go. Aren't you being too cruel? He muttered. You suggested this bet, now you bear the responsibility, I snapped. He tried to hit me, but I deftly intercepted his fist and squeezed it so hard that he howled in pain. Mudian, don't interfere, I said, seeing that his friend was trying to help. He's a son of the Song family, he needs to learn to be responsible for his words, I added, looking at them like naughty puppies. Mudian, sensing my strength, immediately backed away. I threw Song Yunfei away, and he fell to the floor. Go on, crawl, I said with a smile, or do you want me to help you choose a style? He was broken, he had to submit to avoid further disgrace to his family, even though his eyes flashed. I'm from the Gu family, I won't let you get away with insulting my wife, I shouted at last. The entire shopping mall watched as the untouchable Song Yunfei crawled humiliatingly across the floor. He tried to order Mudian to do it for him. I'm so angry I could kill you, he hissed. You were the one who insisted on the bet, now eat your shame, I replied. Mudian, realizing that their situation was hopeless, tried to intervene, but I just looked at him and he fell silent. Song Yunfei realized that there was no way out, either crawl or become an even bigger laughingstock. Leaving all his purchases and pride behind, he ended this humiliating journey and fled the mall. Dozens of people filmed it, and tomorrow the entire capital will know about it. Mushin, realizing the scale of the disaster, quickly disappeared after him. My plan worked perfectly. I not only protected the honor of the Wanning, but also dealt a blow to their influence. I called over the saleswoman who was shocked. Don't you want a promotion? Come on, let's make you a manager. She couldn't believe her luck, feeling like her life had changed in one day. Li Yan escorted me to the exit, showing me all the honors due to the owner. I left Tianfu laden with purchases and headed back home. When I returned, I saw Gu Wanning sitting on the swing in the garden, and for some reason I had an uneasy feeling that the peace was only temporary. I was pleased with myself, carefully placed the bag with my shopping on the edge of the bed, and went to the bathroom to wash up. In fact, Gu Wanning had been immersed in work all day, video conferences, family matters, the guards' reports on Gu Yehui. She was exhausted, but when she heard my footsteps, she pretended to be relaxing on the swing. She spent a lot of energy pretending over 3 years. Her body is recovering now, but she desperately needs rest. All I needed was to be there. She already knew about the conflict with Song Yunfei. Manager Li had reported everything to her in detail. She didn't care about the Song family's grievances, but the clothing situation itself intrigued her. If it weren't for me, she wouldn't have remembered them all. She became curious about what I bought. She took the bag out of the bathroom before I even got back. "Why are you touching my things?" I asked. Wanting flinched and the bag fell to the floor with a thud. An expensive silk shirt and floral-patterned trousers fell right at her feet. Wanting, usually as cold as a blade, suddenly became embarrassed and began to defend herself. "I just wanted to see if there was a gift for me. It was awkward," she muttered. "Why do you need gifts? You need to take care of your health," I said. She hid her embarrassment, going to the wardrobe. I said after her, "Floral pants suit you, try them on." She just snorted in response. Beautiful, I thought, something worth fighting for. Meanwhile, in another camp at the Mu family's, passions were running high. Mushin, having returned to Rongcheng, wept in front of his parents, complaining of the humiliation he had suffered at the hands of Song Yunfei. His mother, Ma Dongmei, was furious. "This ungrateful brat treated you like this. We're going to Gu's house tomorrow to settle the score." Father Mugen frowned. "Are you sure Gu Wanning is healthy? Mentally ill people don't heal overnight." "The mall manager confirmed she's fine," Mushin replied. Ma Dongmei simply clenched her fists. "That bastard just got lucky." They decided that this was some kind of cunning performance and planned tomorrow's visit as an opportunity to extract some benefit for themselves. Maybe this is all a setup, Mudian wondered, not wanting to admit his defeat. "Don't guess, I'm his uncle. If Wanning has truly come to her senses, the Gu family will be a gold mine." "Mushin, be quiet tomorrow. We'll play the role of caring relatives," Mugen commanded. The next morning began with me kicking Wanning out of bed again. "Why are you staring at me again? And what were you doing in my bed last night? I'm getting too soft for you," I grumbled, and Wanning just smiled slyly. Luckily, I had taken precautions. I turned on my phone's recording feature in the middle of the night. It not only recorded me sleeping peacefully, but also proved my complete innocence. Wanning watched the video and pouted. "I like your little tricks," she said, "but who knows when the wind will change." "Who gave you permission to film me?" she protested, but there was nothing she could say in response. When Shen Rulan got out of the car in the morning, she froze. The Mu family's strange car was parked at the entrance. The guards were unsure whether to let these people in, who acted like they owned the place. Shen Rulan looked closely and her eyes narrowed. The Mu family appeared in person. Shen Rulan knew they were either there to flatter or extort money. She opened the door. "Tell Gufeng that guests have arrived," she said coldly. Mushin was confident that they would be received with honors. He looked around, envious of the luxury of Gu's house, and regretted that he hadn't started this game earlier. I went downstairs and was unpleasantly surprised to see these relatives. Mugen was the first to squeeze out crocodile tears. "Nephew, we were so worried. Why didn't you call?" "I was busy with the Gu family's affairs," I replied coldly. "I didn't think you missed me so much." Mugen, not at all embarrassed, began to distribute the gifts brought by Ma Dongmei. He was lavish with pleasantries, trying to appease Shen Rulan. "We spent so long choosing these things, but where is our niece Wanning?" he asked, looking around. I just chuckled. "They spend money on gifts so they can squeeze 10 times more out of us later." Mugen, noticing my mood, nudged Mudian. "Etienne, tell me about the fun time you had at the mall yesterday," he said, hoping to lighten the mood. Mudian, pretending to be a fool, began to present his version. Shen Rulan listened to them, wondering what was going on. Mugen vividly described how I had embarrassed them in the store and insulted the Song family. At that moment, Gu Feng entered. Hearing about the 500,000 for clothes and the conflict with the Song family, he roared, "Do you realize how many problems you've created for us?" Mugen immediately began to defend me, showing what a kind uncle he was. "Don't be angry with him, he's just a country boy, he doesn't understand manners." I silently turned around and walked towards the stairs, not wanting to listen to this nonsense. Mudian ran after me. "Brother, will you show us the house?" I gave him such a look that he choked on his own words. Mugen persisted, "We haven't finished yet. Where is Miss Gu? We want to pay our respects to her in person." "My wife is resting," I snapped, "and slackers are not welcome here." "What slackers? We're one family." Shen Rulan seems to dream of nothing but chaos around him. "This union is a complete disappointment. I saw Minmin this morning and he was in excellent spirits, so I'm perfectly prepared to welcome guests. Besides, there's no point in a wife hiding from her own relatives. Why would anyone think she was hiding?" A cold voice rang out and everyone turned around. Wanning, no longer in a wheelchair, was slowly descending. She looked perfectly healthy with no trace of her recent infirmity. When Mushin saw her, His gaze was riveted on her. This was Wanning. No one had told me she was so beautiful and she looked perfectly healthy. This woman was supposed to be my bride, but she went to that guy, Mushin. Wanning didn't even want to look at him. He wasn't even fit to hold a candle to her. But the moment she looked at me, the ice in her eyes instantly melted. I heard your mother's side of the family came to visit, I said. Why didn't you warn me when I first came downstairs? Wanning immediately understood what I was getting at. She simply didn't know that they had shown up without an invitation. The Mu family didn't even bother to knock, they simply barged in. Gu Feng immediately began airing his grievances. Your husband really needs to learn some manners, Gu Feng began. Yesterday, he got into a fight with the Song family, causing us a lot of trouble. Wanning didn't let him finish. She coldly interrupted him. You dared to argue with my husband over some trifles. You should be grateful he didn't tear the Song family to pieces. Gu Feng turned purple with rage. You impudent girl, I actually spoke to your husband. The Gus have been working with Song for 2 years now, and if this conflict hits our business, who will be held responsible? Wanning only smiled coldly. Gu Zeu has been doing business with the Song family for the past 2 years, so what? Since you're the boss, don't meddle in matters that don't concern you. Oh, how angry he was at her. All of Gu Feng's attempts to hurt Wanning failed. He was unable to achieve his goal and was forced to retreat, not wanting to embarrass himself further. I approached Mugen. You've come to Mugen, so tell me your goal plainly. Brother, can we have a word? I was curious to know what other dirty tricks this man had planned. I'll talk to Wanning, don't worry, I told her. Go rest, I'll handle it myself. I led Mugen up to the second floor and Wanning went about her business. Ma Dongmei was full of compliments. Your niece is a real gem. How lucky your brother is. Come sit down and let's chat like old times. Wanning frowned at the mention of my past. The atmosphere became tense when Ma Dongmei started trying to get to me through conversation. She started talking about how close my brother and I were as children, how we wore the same pants, trying to pry details out of me, all the while teasing Shen Rulan. It's so beautiful here in the garden, maybe you could show me around, I asked. I kept my eyes on Wanning, and Ma Dongmei, noticing this, decided to leave us alone, as did Shen Rulan. Left unattended, they went for a walk in the garden, and only Wanning and Mushin remained in the living room. Mushin started from afar. Does your brother treat you well? He has a difficult character. He grew up in the mountains, a rough man. I hope you're not too hard on him. Wanning frowned, listening to this nonsense. She only answered briefly, really, seeing her surprise. Mushin thought Wanning was just pretending, so I decided to tear off his mask. He started spouting nonsense, but eventually revealed his true intention. Actually, I was supposed to be your husband. Wanning merely closed her eyes. A hint of coldness flashed in her gaze, but Mushin, blinded by his own self-confidence, didn't even notice the change in her mood. She replied calmly and seriously, may I call you that? My husband is certainly a stern, uneducated man, but I'll take care of him. Meanwhile, on the second floor, I sat down on the sofa and asked Mudian directly, get to the point. Why did you come? Don't waste my time. He beamed and sat down opposite me. We're a family, why bother with formalities? The company has credit problems and doesn't have enough money. The Gu family is rich, so lend me 100 million for a week. For the Gu family, this isn't money, but I laughed. Why would I even lend you anything? I snapped, my expression unchanged. We're related. Have you forgotten who even brought you into the Gu family? He protested. Problems with management, it's because you lost everything at cards, right? You took money for gambling and now you're hiding behind business. When I signed the contract with the Gu family, you got a ton of money and then, after finding out Wanning was crazy, you just threw me out, right? Mugen froze in shock. He didn't expect me to know all about his gambling debts, which he hid from his wife. I added that I had no intention of asking the Gu family for money. But you decided to seduce me and extort 100 million. How dare you? I could barely contain my rage. I'm your uncle, how dare you talk like that? I'm just kidding. He began to justify himself, trying to appeal to family feelings. It's because of you and my grandmother. Today I will listen to you to the end, but don't you dare test my patience. I'm not the same boy as before. You've changed so much, become so tough, he muttered. Okay, since you don't consider me an uncle, maybe you'll remember your father. I became wary. What do you mean by that? My parents died in an accident. Are you sure you know how it happened? I still remember that day, my 10th birthday. My parents were rushing to my birthday party and died in that terrible accident. I was too young to suspect anything was wrong, but now, looking at Mugen, my heart started pounding. He was hinting that the accident wasn't so simple. Poor things, they had no one but me. I was the only one who helped them after everything, he said, and I demanded, tell me straight, what did you find? The next moment a sly, nasty grin appeared on his face. Listen, nephew, family is support. If your father were alive, he would help me. Are you threatening me now? His laughter sounded like an open threat. So now he's decided to blackmail me with information about my father for money. Threats were the worst thing I ever endured. I closed my eyes, trying to calm down. I don't care what you think of my parents, I replied. You're just a heartless creature trying to profit off their memory. I was seething with such rage that I felt like I could have grabbed him by the throat. He wasn't even worthy of speaking their names. Mugen paled under my gaze. He still hoped to extract money, continuing to weave his web of intrigue. You're ungrateful, you don't even want to know the truth about your parents, he shouted. Listen here, today you will give me money, otherwise I will desecrate your parents' grave and you will never go near them again. I slammed my fist on the table in a rage, shattering it into pieces. I clenched my fists, barely keeping myself from hitting him, but I disdained to dirty my hands with this man. At first, I wasn't going to argue with you, but once you crossed the line and started speculating about my parents, I had to change my tactics. This money is a mere trifle to me, but you decided to use it as a trump card, trying to intimidate me with a conspiracy. I don't care that you're my brother. My brother was so terrified that he sank to the floor. He looked at me with undisguised horror, unsure of what I was going to do next. Don't worry, I said coldly. Since you've brought up the subject of my parents, I'll definitely get to the bottom of it. And as for you, you used public funds to cover gambling debts. That's a crime, and you know perfectly well what the sentence is for that. Mugen's face turned ashen. He knew perfectly well I was right, and he tried to save himself by activating remorse mode. Brother, I was wrong. I shouldn't have threatened you. It was all out of desperation. Please, I'm ready to kneel before you. He fell to his knees and began to bow. Uncle was just trying to scare you. I would never touch my brother's grave. I'll tell you everything, just don't tell the police, he pleaded, but I no longer cared. Get out, I snapped, and I don't want to see you here again. Mugen, who had come here with such aplomb and malice, crawled away, completely broken. He proved no better than his mother, Ma Dongmei, and Mushin. At first, Mushin tried to foist this Ren Mu onto Wanning, hoping that she would be kicked out of the house. At that moment, Ma Dongmei and Shen Ru Lan approached the room. They decided that I was bullying her precious son, and without understanding the situation, they began to shower me with curses. Wanning's anger reached its limit. With a single gesture, she ordered the pair to be thrown out and banned from the Gu family home forever. When the three were finally escorted out, the house was restored to a long-awaited calm. Wanning turned to me as I was descending the stairs. Don't hang out with that cousin anymore. He's nothing but trouble and idle chatter. We don't need relatives like that. Aren't you angry that I kicked them out? Angry? On the contrary, I replied, feigning an angry grimace. Kicking them out is too lenient. If I were you, I'd lock them in their room and set all our dogs on them. Wanning smiled broadly. Okay, next time I'll give them real trouble if that's what you want. This made me laugh. All the heaviness and resentment left after my conversation with Mugen instantly evaporated. Laughing, I asked Wanning, what else did he say besides slander me? Did he really say that he should be your husband and that I'm a pretender? Wanning winced at the memory of sitting on the sofa next to Mushin. She felt so disgusted that she immediately called the maid and ordered them to throw the sofa out of the house immediately. Then I became serious. I'm glad you were there. Thank you for not believing them and not hating me. The main thing is that sometimes when I lock myself in my office, I become stronger than you, she answered hintingly, as if I'm preparing for something important. I was perplexed, but you said this morning that you weren't going to work today. Why are you on the computer again? I have some finishing touches to do, she replied. If I don't work, how will I succeed? How did you determine that? I asked, surprised. I finished work yesterday and put my laptop away before you arrived. It's simple. Before I left, the charge was 90%, and when I returned, it was 100%. Someone had definitely been using it and keeping it charging to keep the battery going. I was a former special agent, accustomed to calculating the smallest details to complete a mission. But right now, the most important thing was her pulse, which betrayed her obvious fatigue. Wanning was amazed by my insight and felt guilty. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you. Lying to me is a bad idea, I said sternly. For the sake of your health, you can work no more than 2 hours a day. Don't do that again. Wanning only laughed, looking at my serious face. Respect your husband, I added jokingly. The very word husband left me at a loss. We are married, even if only formally, and I am indeed her husband. After I left, Wanning immediately took out her phone and called her subordinate, Adio, find out everything about Guyi's past. The more detailed the information, the better. She didn't want to pry into my soul, but after hearing that I'd lost 10 years of my memory, she couldn't stay away. What had happened to me during that time? It wasn't just curiosity anymore, but a genuine desire to know what I'd been through. Adio acted with lightning speed. In less than 10 minutes, he was already on the line. Miss, I found it. Guyi.